Oliver Wilder's phone buzzed on his desk. He glanced at it while finalizing the quarterly logistics report for the manufacturing plant he managed. Brielle's name flashed on the screen. He swiped to open a message. Remember to stay clear of the rehearsal dinner tonight and the wedding tomorrow. I've already explained this to you. Oliver stared at the text, reading it 3 times to make sure he understood. His grip tightened around the phone. He pushed back from his desk, grabbed his jacket, and headed for the door. Taking an early lunch, Marcy, he told his assistant, I'll be back in an hour. The drive home took 15 minutes. Every red light seemed to stretch into eternity. By the time he pulled into the driveway of their suburban home, his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Brielle was in the kitchen when he walked in, arranging flowers in a vase. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a perfect ponytail, not a strand out of place. She wore a cream blouse and tailored slacks, looking like she stepped out of a catalog. What's this about staying clear of Lainey's wedding? Oliver asked, holding up his phone. Brielle did not look up from the flowers. Exactly what it says. We discussed this. No, we have not. Your sister is getting married tomorrow. And suddenly I'm not welcome. She sighed, finally meeting his gaze with cool blue eyes. It's not suddenly. Lainey wants the wedding to be for real family. Conrad's parents are very particular about the guest list. Real family, Oliver's voice rose. I've been your husband for 8 years, and you've barely spoken to Lainey in the last 3. Brielle arranged a final rose, stepping back to admire her work. You declined the last 2 Christmas dinners with my parents, because your father spent the previous one talking down to me about my little job in logistics. Oliver moved closer. Is my name on the guest list, Brielle? She hesitated just long enough. It is not, is it? He felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. Oliver, please do not make this difficult. She picked up her purse from the counter. The Bishops are one of the oldest families in Nashville. This wedding is important for Lainey's future, for our connections. I'm the maid of honor. I need to be there for my sister without worrying about you feeling uncomfortable. Uncomfortable? Oliver's laugh was hollow. You worried about me making a scene. Is that it? Would it be the first time? She raised a perfectly shaped eyebrow. Remember Dad's retirement party? Your father announced to everyone that you married beneath you. What was I supposed to do? Smile and nod. You could have handled it privately, like an adult. Brielle checked her watch. I need to go. Her appointment at 1. Then meeting Lainey at the venue. Oliver blocked her path. So that's it. I'm just not invited to my sister-in-law's wedding. And you fine with that. It's one weekend, Oliver. Surely your pride can handle it. She tried to step around him. He did not move. What about your pride, Brielle? How can you stand there while your family treats your husband like he's nobody? They not. She stopped composing herself. Look, I've tried to make this work. I've tried to bridge the gap between you and my family. But you refuse to play along. You challenge every little thing. You never just fit in. Because I would not pretend to be something. I'm not to impress people who look down on me. Well, that attitude is exactly why you not invited. She met his gaze directly. Now please move. I'm going to be late. Oliver stepped aside, his jaw tight. You know what? Fine. Go enjoy the fancy wedding with your real family. Just remember something, Brielle. I have a long memory. And I do not forgive easily. Is that a threat? She paused at the door. It's a fact. Ask anyone who knows me. He turned away. Have a great time at the wedding. The door closed behind her with a soft click that somehow felt more final than a slam. Oliver knew he should not go. It would only lead to more humiliation. But something inside him, pride, stubbornness, or maybe just a need to see for himself, drove him to the Biltmore estate the following evening as guests arrived for the wedding. He parked his Jeep among the luxury cars and straightened his tie. He'd chosen his best suit, a dark charcoal that Brielle had once said brought out the intensity in his eyes. His dark hair was neatly combed, beard trimmed. If they were going to turn him away, they'd do it to his face while he looked his best. The grand entrance to the estate was lit with thousands of twinkling lights. Staff in uniforms directed guests toward the garden venue. Oliver approached confidently as if he belonged. "Good evening, sir," said a young man with a tablet at the entrance. "Name, please." "Oliver Wilder." The man scrolled through his list, frowning slightly. "I'm sorry, sir. I do not see that name. I'm Brielle Wilder's husband. She's the maid of honor." "One moment, please." The man stepped aside and spoke quietly into a headset. Oliver stood tall, aware of the curious glances from arriving guests. He spotted a few familiar faces, colleagues of Brielle's father, neighbors, distant cousins. Their expressions ranged from confusion to discomfort to poorly concealed interest in the unfolding drama. The staff member returned with an older man in a suit who introduced himself as the event coordinator. "Mr. Wilder, I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. Your name is not on our approved guest list." His tone was apologetic, but firm. "My wife is in the bridal party," Oliver said. "Surely that counts for something." "I understand, sir, but we have strict instructions." Perhaps there was a mix-up with the RSVP. Oliver saw Brielle approaching from inside. Her bridesmaid dress a flowing pale blue that matched her eyes. Behind her was Lainey, not in her wedding dress yet, but in a white silk robe with bride embroidered on the back. "Oliver," Brielle's voice was tight. "What are you doing here?" "I came to support my wife at her sister's wedding." He kept his voice level. "Apparently there's some issue with the guest list." Lainey stepped forward, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Oh, Oliver, did not Brielle explain? We had to make some difficult cuts. The venue has strict capacity limits." He looked past the coordinator at the sprawling estate. "Right. Space is clearly an issue. It's not personal." Lainey continued. "We just had to prioritize. And your sister's husband did not make the cut." Oliver nodded slowly. "Got it." Brielle took his arm, leading him a few steps away. "Please do not do this," she whispered. "Not today." "Do what?" "I just showed up to my sister-in-law's wedding. You were the ones making a scene. You knew you were not invited. You came anyway to make a point. And I've made it." He gently removed her hand from his arm. "Enjoy your evening with your real family, Brielle." As he turned to leave, he spotted Jack Dawson, an old high school friend among the arriving guests. Jack's eyes widened in recognition, then narrowed in confusion as he watched Oliver walking away from the venue. Oliver nodded once in greeting, then walked to his car without looking back. In the rearview mirror, he saw Brielle return to the venue. Her posture perfect, showing no sign of distress. Lainey lingered a moment longer, a smug smile playing on her lips before she turned away. The humiliation burned in his chest as he drove away from the twinkling lights of the estate. But alongside, it was something colder, more focused. A resolve hardening with each mile. Oliver drove through the winding mountain roads, leaving Asheville behind. The roads became narrower, the houses more spread out. His headlights cut through the gathering darkness as he navigated from memory, turning onto an unmarked gravel drive that wound up into the Smoky Mountains. That Jack's cabin came into view, a sturdy structure of wood and stone perched on a mountainside. A single light burned in the window. Oliver parked beside Jack's truck and sat for a moment, gathering his thoughts. The cabin door opened before he reached it. Jack Dawson stood in the doorway, a bottle of bourbon in one hand. "Figured you might show up," Jack said by way of greeting. At 40, Jack was built like the soldier he'd once been, with close-cropped hair, now peppered with gray and eyes that missed nothing. "Saw you at the wedding. Or rather, saw you leaving. Got a drink for an unwanted guest?" Oliver asked. Jack stepped aside. "Always." The cabin was simple but comfortable. A stone fireplace dominated one wall. A worn leather couch faced it. Bookshelves lined with history books and military memoirs covered another wall. The kitchen was small but functional, opening to a dining area with a sturdy oak table. Jack poured 2 generous glasses and pushed one toward Oliver. "Talk." Oliver took a long drink, the bourbon burning a path down his throat. They did not invite me to Lainey's wedding. My own sister-in-law, Embriel, went along with it. The Caldwells always were a special kind of entitled, Jack commented. He'd grown up in Asheville too, had known the Caldwell family nearly as long as Oliver. But your wife agreeing to it, that's cold. It's not the first time. Oliver stared into his glass. Last Christmas, they had a family dinner at the country club. Brielle told me at the last minute it was immediate family only. Found out later her cousins from Charlotte were there. And you let that slide. I confronted her about it. She said I was overreacting, that her family was tired of me making everything difficult. He drained his glass. Apparently, I do not know how to act around their kind of people. Jack refilled Oliver's glass without asking. And what kind is that? Rich. Connected. Born believing the world exists to serve them. Oliver's laugh was bitter. I'm just the guy who makes sure inventory gets where it needs to go. No trust fund. No family name worth mentioning. You built something from nothing. Jack said, unlike those parasites who never worked a day in their lives. According to Brielle, I could build more if I play their games. Accept the condescension. Laugh at the jokes about people who work for a living. Jack was quiet for a moment. You know, when we were seniors and you stood up to those kids bullying Derek Foster, you did not stop to think about their parents' bank accounts. You just did what was right. He leaned forward. The guy I knew back then would not take this kind of disrespect. Not even from his wife. I tried to make it work. For 8 years, I've tried to be the bigger person. And what has it gotten you? Locked out of your sister-in-law's wedding while your wife pretends you do not exist. Oliver stood abruptly, pacing the length of the small cabin. You know what eats at me the most? Brielle did not even fight for me. Not once. She just accepted that I was not good enough to be there. So what are you going to do about it? Jack asked quietly. Oliver stopped pacing, a slow, cold clarity spreading through him. I do not know yet. But this ends now. The disrespect, the exclusion, all of it. Jack nodded, a grim satisfaction in his eyes. Then it's time they learned not to. They talked late into the night. Memories of high school giving way to catching up on the past few years. Jack had returned to Asheville after 15 years in the Army, most of it in Special Forces. He bought the cabin with his savings and now worked as a security consultant, his military background, opening doors that valued his expertise. I've been thinking about opening an outdoor supply store. Jack mentioned this area is booming with hikers and climbers, but the existing shops are overpriced tourist traps. You should do it. Oliver said, you know, this terrain better than anyone need capital first. Jack shrugged. Banks are not exactly lining up to loan money to ex-military with no business experience. Oliver filed that information away. An idea of forming the night wore on their conversations circled back to the Caldwells, to Brielle, and to what had happened at the wedding. With each story, Oliver shared each slight, each exclusion, each time Brielle had chosen her family's approval over supporting her husband. His resolve strengthened. So what's the plan? Jack finally asked as the first hint of dawn, light in the eastern sky. Because I know that look, you replotting something, not sabotage. Oliver clarified, just exposure. They want to pretend I do not exist. Fine. But they do not get to control the narrative anymore. Jack smiled, the expression making him look younger, like the troublemaker he'd been in high school. Count me in. Whatever you need, Oliver nodded, feeling for the first time in years like he was standing on solid ground. First, I need information. And I know just where to start. The morning after the wedding, Oliver woke on Jack's couch with a clear head and a focused purpose. He checked his phone. 3 missed calls from Brielle. No voicemails. 1 text asking where he was. He did not respond. Coffee's ready. Jack called from the kitchen. Strong enough to wake the dead. Oliver accepted the mug gratefully. I need to make some calls. Mind if I use your deck? Jack waved him off. Make yourself at home. I'm heading into town for supplies. Back in a couple hours. Alone on the deck, overlooking the misty mountains, Oliver made his first call. Harper. It's Oliver Wilder. I need a favor. Harper Bell had been a year ahead of Oliver in high school. Now she ran the most sought-after catering company in western North Carolina. Or she had, until the Caldwell family blacklisted her 3 years ago. Oliver Wilder, Harper's voice carried a smile. Have not heard from you in ages. What kind of favor are we talking about? Information to start with. About the Caldwells. A pause. Any particular reason? Let's just say I've finally had enough of their games. A low chuckle came through the phone. Well, it's about time. What do you want to know? Everything. Especially about Lainey and her new husband, Conrad Bishop. Funny you should ask about them. Harper's tone shifted to something more serious. I catered an event at the country club last month. Lainey was there with a man who definitely was not her fiancé. They were not exactly subtle about being together. If you catch my drift, Oliver's grip tightened on the phone. Go on. The guy's name is Evan Mercer. Works at the investment firm where Lainey interned last summer. They left together and she was at his apartment until at least midnight. My sous chef lives in the same building. Saw her leaving. Any chance your sous chef took photos? Security footage from the building. I can ask. But Oliver, what exactly are you planning? Justice. He said simply, the Caldwells ruined your business because you would not give them free services for their charity gala. They spent years trying to humiliate me because I do not fit their image. It's time they faced consequences. Harper was quiet for a moment. My business is recovering. I've built a new client base. One that values quality over society connections. I'm glad to hear it. But would not you sleep better knowing the Caldwells not hurt anyone else? Another pause. What do you need from me? Oliver smiled. Access to the venue for starters. By mid-afternoon, Oliver had made a dozen calls. Former classmates who been burned by the Caldwell family's influence. Business associates who been frozen out of opportunities. Even a former housekeeper who been fired when she accidentally overheard a conversation she should not have. Each person had a story. Each had evidence, screenshots of texts, copies of emails, recordings of conversations. A pattern emerged of manipulation, entitlement, and casual cruelty. Jack returned as Oliver was organizing the information on his laptop. Found something interesting in town. Jack said, tossing a local society magazine on the table. Hot off the press. The cover showed a beaming Lainey Caldwell in her wedding dress. Conrad Bishop looking suitably proud beside her. The headline read, Asheville's Wedding of the Year. Bishop and Caldwell families unite. Page 12. Jack prompted. Oliver flipped to it and froze. There was a photo of Brielle standing with the other bridesmaids. The caption read, Maid of Honor Brielle Caldwell Wilder supported her sister throughout the perfect day. Caldwell Wilder, Oliver repeated slowly. Not just Wilder. Keep reading. The article praised the intimate family gathering and quoted Brielle. This union means everything to our family. Conrad is exactly who he always hoped Lainey would find. Oliver noted. Not a single mention of me. It's like you do not exist. Jack agreed. But here's the kicker, look at the photo from the reception. Oliver turned the page. There was Conrad with his groomsmen, champagne glasses raised. One man, the best man, according to the caption, was holding up a phone, showing something to the group. Their expressions range from shock to amusement. That's Mark Taylor. Conrad's best man. Jack explained. He's an old friend of mine from basic training. I ran into him at the coffee shop. Turns out he showed some interesting photos at the rehearsal dinner. Photos of what? Of Lainey. With another man. Quite cozy, he said. Oliver leaned back, processing this. So Conrad knows his bride might be cheating. Mark said Conrad laughed it off publicly. But later that night, he was asking questions. Lots of questions. A plan was starting to take shape in Oliver's mind. Jack, How would you feel about attending a wedding reception? Thought you'd never ask. They spent the rest of the day and well into the night refining their plan. It was not about causing a scene or direct confrontation. It was about careful, strategic exposure of truth. Oliver texted Brielle late that night, staying with a friend. Need time to think. Do not wait up. Her reply came immediately. We need to talk about your behavior. Come home tomorrow. He turned off his phone without responding. The next morning, Oliver met with Harper at a diner in town. She brought a young woman with her, Zoe, her sous chef. Got what you asked for, Zoe said, sliding a USB drive across the table. Security footage from my building. Lainey and Evan entering and leaving. Time stamps clear as day. 3 different nights in the past month, including 2 days before the wedding. Harper added. Oliver pocketed the drive. Thank you, both of you. Now about getting into the venue for the reception tomorrow night, Harper smiled. Already handled. The catering company they hired is short-staffed. I call an old contact there offered to loan them some of my people, including my handsome new waiter, Jack, and me. Oliver asked, you going to front door with this? She handed him an invitation. Conrad's cousin Ryan ca not make it. Stomach flu very unfortunate. But the Bishop family already paid for his plate. So Oliver examined the invitation. How did you get this? Harper winked. Ryan's girlfriend is my best friend from college. She thinks the Bishops are pretentious snobs. This is good. Oliver nodded. But we need more. Something definitive that even Conrad's family ca not ignore. Zoe hesitated, then pulled out her phone. Also have this. Did not know if I should show you, but she pulled up a text conversation and handed it to Oliver that it was between Lainey and Evan dated just 1 week before the wedding. The content was explicit, leaving no doubt about their relationship and Lainey's final message. Conrad's family money makes him worth tolerating in public. But you who I want behind closed doors. Oliver looked up at Zoe. How do you get this? Evan left his phone unlocked at the bar where my roommate works. She saw Lainey's name and got curious. Zoe shrugged. People in the service industry talk. We all know what the Caldwells are like. Can you send me these? Zoe nodded, already on the USB drive. Oliver thanked them both again. As they were leaving, Harper paused. Oliver. Make a count, that family has hurt too many people. I will, he promised. After tomorrow, the Caldwells will not be able to hurt anyone else. The reception venue was the Bishop family South private estate overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountains. Security was tight, but Oliver's borrowed invitation got him through the gate without issue. He wore a bespoke suit in dark blue of color. He knew Brielle particularly disliked on him with confidence that made the staff assume he belonged. Jack had arrived hours earlier with Harper's catering team, virtually invisible in his server's uniform as he moved through the crowd with trays of champagne. Their eyes met briefly across the room. Jack giving a subtle nod to indicate all was proceeding as planned. Oliver positioned himself in a corner of the grand ballroom, observing Lainey and Conrad were at the head table. She in her wedding gown. He had a tuxedo that probably cost more than Oliver's monthly salary. They looked happy enough on the surface. But Oliver noted the tight set of Conrad's jaw, the way his eyes occasionally flicked to his bride with something like suspicion. Brielle was at the same table, laughing at something Lainey's father said. She had not noticed Oliver yet. Good. He wanted to control that moment. To a server not Jack approached Conrad with a note. The groom read it, excused himself, and left the ballroom. Oliver checked his watch. Right on schedule. 5 minutes later, Brielle's phone buzzed. She read the message, frowned, and made her way toward the exit, moving with the practice grace that came from a lifetime of cotillion lessons and country club functions. Oliver waited 30 seconds, then followed. He found them in a private study off the main hall. Conrad was showing Brielle something on his phone, his voice low but intense. Explain this, then. It's dated last week, Brielle. Oliver cleared his throat from the doorway. Am I interrupting? They both turned sharply. Brielle's face drained of color. Oliver, what are you doing here? I was invited. He held up the invitation card. Sort of, Conrad stared at him. You Oliver. Brielle's husband. The one who was not good enough to attend your wedding. Yes, that's me. Oliver stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. Looks like you having some concerns about your new bride. Conrad's eyes narrowed. You know something? I know many things. Including the fact that your wife was with another man 2 days before your wedding. Brielle stepped between them. Oliver, stop it. This is exactly why you were not invited. You always have to create drama. Oliver laughed without humor. Is that what you call the truth? Because from where I stand, the drama was created long before I arrived. I'm just making sure everyone is all the facts. What facts? Conrad demanded. For starters, the fact that Lainey has been seeing Evan Mercer for months. Oliver pulled out his phone, opened a folder of evidence. Security footage from his apartment building. Text messages. Photos from various locations around town. And my personal favorite. He swiped to the final image. A screenshot where your new wife explains that your family money makes you worth tolerating in public. Conrad grabbed the phone, scrolling through the evidence with increasing agitation. Where did you get this? People talk, especially people who been hurt by the Caldwell family. Oliver turned to Brielle. Did you know about Lainey's affair? Of course not. Brielle snapped. And I do not believe it. These could be fake. The security footage to the timestamps. The text messages from her own phone. Oliver shook his head. You can lie to yourself, Brielle. But the evidence is clear. Conrad handed the phone back to Oliver, his expression deadly calm. Does anyone else know about this? Not yet. Oliver replied. But I do have a USB drive with all of this information. And it's currently in the possession of Jack Dawson, who is serving champagne to your father as we speak. Jack Dawson is here. Brielle asked confused. He works for Harper Bell now. You remember Harper? The caterer your family ruined because she would not cater your mother's charity gala for free. Conrad ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair. What do you want? Money. Oliver laughed. I do not want your money, Conrad. What I want is for the truth to come out about Lainey, about how your family and the Caldwells treat people they consider beneath them. About all of it. You destroy Lainey. Brielle said, her voice rising. Is that what you want? What I want, Oliver said quietly, is for actions to have consequences. For once Conrad was silent for a long moment, then nodded. I want the USB drive. Now it's not that simple. Make it simple. Conrad's voice was cold. This is between me and Lainey. I deserve to handle it my way. Oliver considered him. And how would you handle it privately? Then publicly. Conrad's jaw tightened. The Bishop family has standards. We do not tolerate betrayal. Fair enough. Oliver nodded. I'll have Jack bring the drive to your father. I assume you want him to see it too. Conrad's expression was grim. Yes. Brielle grabbed Oliver's arm. You see, not do this. You ruin everything. I did not ruin anything, Brielle. Lainey did that all on her own. He removed her hand from his arm. And you helped by going along with excluding me. By pretending I do not exist when it's convenient for your family. This is vindictive, she accused. No. Oliver corrected. This is justice. Long overdue. He texted Jack. Bring the package to the VIP lounge. Give it to Bishop Sr. directly. Conrad's phone rang. He answered. Listened. And his face hardened. I'll be right there. He hung up and looked at Oliver. My father just received your evidence. He wants to see me immediately. Then you should go. Oliver suggested. Family first, right? Conrad left without another word. Leaving Oliver alone with Brielle. Why are you doing this? She demanded when the door closed. Because for 8 years, I've watched you choose them over me. I watched you let them diminish me, exclude me, treat me like I'm nothing. Oliver's voice was steady. And yesterday, when they refused to let me into your sister's wedding, you stood by and did nothing. Not a word in my defense. It was not my decision. But you accepted it. He cut her off. You went along with it. Just like you've gone along with everything your family has ever done to me. Tears filled her eyes. I tried to make it work. I tried to bridge the gap between you and my family. No, you did not. You tried to make me fit their mold. You tried to make me something I'm not. He moved toward the door. And when that did not work, you chose them. Every single time. Oliver, please, we can fix this. He looked back at her, really looked at the woman he married 8 years ago. She was beautiful, poised, perfect in every external way, and completely hollow at the core. No, Brielle, we see not. He left her standing in the study and made his way back to the ballroom. The atmosphere had shifted. Clusters of guests were whispering. Conrad was nowhere to be seen. Conrad's father stood near the head table, USB drive in hand, speaking intently to the wedding planner. Jack appeared at Oliver's side, now minus his server's uniform. Mission accomplished. Bishop Sr. has the evidence. Conrad's in with Lainey now, confronting her. And she denied it, then blamed it on wedding stress, then started crying. Jack smirked. Quite the performance from what I could overhear. Anyone see you? Just Bishop Sr. Who thinks I'm doing security for the event. Told him I found the evidence while doing a routine sweep of the grounds. Oliver nodded approvingly. Perfect. A commotion from the entrance to the ballroom drew their attention. Conrad had emerged from a side room, his face set in stone. Lainey followed, mascara streaking her cheeks. Her mother close behind trying to calm her. What's happening? A woman nearby asked her companion. I think the groom just found out his bride has been cheating. The man replied, not bothering to lower his voice. The whispers spread rapidly. Conrad strode directly to the officiant who had performed the ceremony earlier in the day and spoke briefly to him. The older man nodded gravely. Ladies and gentlemen, the officiant announced, his voice carrying in the suddenly quiet room. I've been asked to inform you that there has been a development. The ceremony conducted today will not be legally filed. In simpler terms, the marriage has been annulled before it could be officially registered. A collective gasp went through the crowd. Lainey's mother swayed on her feet, then collapsed into a chair, a hand pressed her chest. Lainey herself stood frozen, her perfect wedding dress now a costume in a tragedy. Brielle emerged from the hallway, spotted Oliver and Jack watching from their corner and marched toward them, fury in every step. Are you happy now? She hissed when she reached them. You ruined my sister's life. Your sister ruined her own life. Oliver replied calmly. I just made sure she could not hide it anymore. Mother is devastated. Our family will be the talk of Asheville for months. Maybe that's exactly what they need. Jack interjected. A dose of humility. Brielle turned her glare on him. And you, I should have known you'd be part of this. You always brought out the worst in Oliver. The worst. Jack raised an eyebrow. Or the best. The guy who stands up for himself, who does not let people walk all over him. The guy I remember from high school. Oliver put a hand on Jack's shoulder. We done here. Let us go. As they walked toward the exit, Conrad intercepted them. Wilder, a word. Jack continued on, giving them space. Bishop, Oliver acknowledged. Thank you. Conrad said simply, for the evidence, for the truth. It would have been easier to find out years from now with children involved. You did not deserve that. Oliver agreed. No one does. Conrad studied him. You not what I expected, based on what Brielle and Lainey said about you. I rarely am. A ghost of a smile touched Conrad's lips. Well, for what it's worth, you would have been welcome at my wedding. My real wedding, someday, to To someone who actually values integrity. Oliver nodded once, then continued toward the exit where Jack waited. Outside, the evening air was cool and clean. The mountains stretched before them, solid and unchanging. Jack started laughing as they reached his truck. "What's so funny?" Oliver asked. "Just picturing the Caldwells try to explain this to their country club friends." Jack shook his head. "That was masterful, man. Surgical precision." Oliver felt a strange lightness, as if a weight he'd carried for years had finally been set down. It was not it? As they drove away, he looked back once at the Bishop estate, where chaos still reigned. He thought he saw Brielle standing on the terrace, watching him leave. But it might have been a trick of the light. Oliver spent the night at Jack's cabin again. He turned off his phone, not ready to deal with the aftermath yet. They sat on the deck with beers, recounting the evening's events, and enjoying the quiet satisfaction of a plan perfectly executed. When Lainey's mother fainted, Jack snickered. Poetry. Pure poetry. She always was dramatic. Oliver agreed. Remember how she acted when Lainey did not make cheer captain in high school? Called the principal, demanded an investigation. Some people never face consequences. Jack mused. Until they do, morning came with a clarity that matched the mountain air. Oliver turned his phone back on to find 27 missed calls from Brielle, a dozen from his in-laws, and even one from Conrad. There were twice as many text messages, ranging from Brielle's initial fury to bargaining to threats. Her latest message read, "We need to talk. I'm at home. Come back so we can fix this." "Going to face the music?" Jack asked, seeing Oliver reading the messages. "Time to end this properly." Oliver agreed. "I'll be back later. Keep a beer cold for me." The drive back to Asheville gave him time to organize his thoughts. By the time he pulled into the driveway of the home he shared with Brielle, he was calm and resolved. She was waiting in the living room, still wearing the clothes from the previous night. Her perfect appearance now rumbled and strained. Her eyes were red from crying or lack of sleep or both. "You back," she said unnecessarily. "Just to talk," he clarified, "and to get some things." "Oliver, what happened last night was long overdue." He finished for her. "The truth about Lainey. The truth about your family. All of it." She stood, moving toward him. "Understand you were hurt. Being excluded from the wedding was wrong. I should have fought harder for you. But what you did, the public humiliation, destroying my sister's marriage." "I did not destroy anything, Brielle. Lainey did that all by herself when she decided to cheat on Conrad. You did not have to expose it that way." Her voice rose. "You could have told Conrad privately. You did not have to make a spectacle of it. Embarrass the entire family in front of everyone who matters in Asheville." Oliver laughed without humor. "Everyone who matters? You mean the social circle that your family has used as a weapon for years? The people whose opinion you value more than your own husband's dignity? That's not fair." "No, what's not fair is being treated like I do not exist, because I do not come from money. What's not fair is watching my wife stand by while her family humiliates me again and again." Brielle's posture changed, becoming defensive. "My family accepted you." "No, they tolerated me. Barely. And only when I played by their rules." Oliver moved past her to the stairs. "I'm getting some clothes. I'll come back for the rest later." "You leaving me?" She followed him. Because of one wedding invitation, he stopped on the stairs, turned to face her. "No, Brielle. I'm leaving you because when given the choice between me and your family's approval, you choose them. Every time. For 8 years. That's not true. I've stood up for you." When he challenged, "Name one time you chose my side over theirs. One time you put our marriage above their opinion." She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "I told Dad to stop making comments about your job. After I confronted him myself at that dinner party. And what happened? He ignored me for 6 months. And you blamed me for making things difficult." "Oliver, please." Her voice softened, became the one she used when she wanted something. We can work through this. Couple therapy, maybe a fresh start. It's too late for that. Her expression hardened. If you leave, you'll regret it. My family has influence in this town. Your career. Are you threatening me? I'm stating facts. Her chin lifted. The Caldwell name means something here. It certainly does, he agreed. Especially now. He continued up the stairs, packed a bag quickly, and returned to find Brielle on the phone. Her voice low and urgent. She hung up when she saw him. That was Dad, she said. He wants to meet with you. To discuss options. Options for what? For handling this situation discreetly. For damage control. Oliver says, bag down by the door. There's nothing to discuss. I filed for divorce. The color drained from her face. You what? This morning. Electronic filing. My lawyer will contact yours tomorrow. You see, not without even talking to me first. The time for talking was yesterday when your family barred me from the wedding, or last Christmas when you excluded me from the family dinner, or any of the dozen other times you allowed them to treat me as less than. You picked up his bag again. I have copies of everything. Brielle, every manipulative text, every financial record showing how you've been siphoning money from our joint account to your private one. Every recording of you and your family talking about me when you thought I could not hear. You've been spying on me. Her voice rose in outrage. I've been protecting myself. He corrected. I knew this day would come eventually. I just did not know what would finally push me to act. I'll fight this. She threatened. I'll take everything you could try. He moved to the door. But I think you'll find that the Caldwell name does not carry quite the weight it used to, not after last night, and especially not after people hear about how your family has been operating behind the scenes for years. What are you saying? I'm saying I have evidence of your father's questionable business practices, his pressure tactics on local businesses, the way he's used social connections to squash competition, the way your mother has spread rumors to destroy reputations. Oliver opened the door. I do not want to use any of it. But I will if I have to. You would not dare. After what I did last night. Do you really want to test that theory? She stared at him, really seeing him perhaps for the first time in their marriage, not as the man she could mold to fit her family's expectations, but as someone with his own strength, his own power. Who are you? She whispered, the same person I've always been. Brielle, you just never bothered to look closely enough to see it. He stepped outside. My lawyer will be in touch. As he walked through his car, he heard her call after him. Oliver, you see, not just walk away from 8 years. He turned back one last time. Watch me. Oliver returned to Jack's cabin, but the victory fell hollow. 8 years of marriage ended in a single weekend. It was necessary. He knew that, but it still left an empty space where something meaningful had once been. Jack did not ask questions when Oliver returned. Just handed him a beer and turned on a baseball game. They watched in companionable silence as the sun set behind the mountains. The next morning, Oliver's phone rang. Brielle's father. He declined a call. It rang again immediately. And again, persistent, is not he? Jack observed. Always was. Oliver finally answered on the fourth call. Gerald, what can I do for you? You can meet me in my office. Gerald Caldwell's voice held none of its usual pompous authority to discuss terms. I've already filed for divorce. My lawyer, this is not about the divorce. Gerald cut in. It's about the evidence you have about our family, about my business practices. Oliver met Jack's curious gaze across the room. What about it? I want to make a deal. I'm listening. Meet me in my office. 1 hour. Oliver considered it. No. Public place. The cafe on Lexington. Noon. A pause. Fine. The cafe was busy with the lunch crowd when Oliver arrived. Gerald Caldwell was already seated at a corner table, looking distinctly uncomfortable in the casual setting. His tailored suit and imperious bearing stood out among the students and young professionals in jeans and t-shirts. Oliver. Gerald did not stand or offer his hand. Sit down. Oliver took his time ordering a coffee from the server before settling across from his father-in-law. You wanted to talk. I want to know what it will take to make this go away. Make what go away exactly? Gerald's jaw tightened. Do not play games. The evidence you mentioned to Brielle about my business, my wife's activities in the community. Ah, that. Oliver sipped his coffee. I'm not interested in exposing any of it, Gerald. Unless you force my hand. What does that mean? It means I want a clean break. A fair division of assets in the divorce. No attempts to damage my reputation or career. No using your influence to make my life difficult. Oliver leaned forward. You leave me alone. I leave you alone. Gerald studied him with narrowed eyes. And Lainey, the damage you've done to her future. Lainey did that to herself. Oliver shrugged. But I have no interest in causing her further pain. What happens between her and Conrad is their business now. Conrad's father is refusing to do business with me. Gerald said, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. 20 years of partnership ended overnight. Actions of consequences, Oliver replied. Something your family seems to have trouble understanding. A flash of the old Gerald the arrogant, controlling man who looked down on Oliver from day one surfaced briefly. You think you won something here? You nothing without the Caldwell connection. Just another middle manager who married above his station. Oliver laughed, genuinely amused. That's where you wrong, Gerald. I never needed your name or your connections. I built my career on hard work and competence. And I'll continue to do exactly that until I make a few calls, Gerald threatened. Make all the calls you want. Oliver stood. But remember, for every person you talk to, I can talk to someone else. I can show evidence of exactly how the great Gerald Caldwell conducts business, how he pressures local companies, threatens competition, uses social blackmail to get his way. Gerald's face flushed. You would not dare. Try me. Oliver placed a few dollars on the table for his coffee. I'll have my lawyer send over the divorce terms. Standard, fair division of assets. Nothing more, nothing less. You make sure Brielle signs without a fight. And we all go our separate ways. And if I do not, then I start making my own calls. Oliver's voice was calm, beginning with the State Business Ethics Committee. I hear they very interested in the kind of tactics you've been using against smaller competitors. Gerald's bluster deflated visibly. For the first time, Oliver saw fear in the older man's eyes. You've changed, Gerald said finally. No, I'll just stop letting you and your family define who I am. Oliver turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. Jack Dawson is opening an outdoor supply store. Your country club friends enjoy hiking and climbing, do not they? I suggest you spread the word that a shop is the place to go. Consider it a goodwill gesture. He left Gerald sitting stunned in the cafe, feeling lighter with each step. The confrontation he avoided for years had finally happened, and he emerged not just intact but stronger. His phone rang as he reached his car. Brielle, I heard you met with Dad, she said without preamble. News travels fast. What did you say to him? He called me, sounding shaken. The truth, Oliver replied, that actions have consequences, that I want a clean break, that I'm not afraid of him or his influence. Brielle was quiet for a moment. He told me to sign whatever your lawyer sends over. That would be the sensible thing to do. Is that all you have to say to me? Oliver sighed. What do you want me to say, Brielle? I'm sorry it came to this. I am. That I wish things had been different. I do. But that does not change where we are now. I loved you, she said quietly. In my way, your way was not enough. He started his car. Goodbye, Brielle. He ended the call before she could respond, pulled out of the parking lot, and headed back to the mountains, to Jack's cabin, to the beginning of whatever came next. 3 months passed. October painted the Blue Ridge Mountains in fiery reds and golds. Oliver had rented a small apartment in downtown Asheville, close enough to work that he could walk most days. The divorce had been finalized with surprising speed. Gerald Caldwell apparently eager to put the whole mess behind him. Oliver was having coffee at a sidewalk cafe when he spotted Tess Wilder, his younger sister, approaching with a determined stride. At 35, Tess was a community college counselor, practical and direct in a way that had always put her at odds with Brielle. "There you are," Tess said, dropping into the chair across from him. "I've been looking all over for you. You could have called," Oliver pointed out, "and given you the chance to avoid me." "Not likely." She signaled the server for coffee. "So it's been 3 months since you blew up your marriage and became the talk of Asheville. Were you planning to tell me yourself? Or was I supposed to piece it together from gossip?" Oliver had the grace to look sheepish. "I was going to call." "When?" "Next year." Tess accepted her coffee with a nod of thanks. "I had to hear from Diane Franklin about how you exposed Lainey Caldwell as a cheater at her own wedding reception. And from Mark at the gym about how you apparently now best friends with Jack Dawson again. And from 3 different people that you and Brielle are divorced. It's been a busy few months," Oliver admitted. "No kidding." Tess studied him. "You look good though. Better than you have in years." "I feel better. So tell me everything. And do not leave anything out." Oliver told her the whole story, from being excluded from the wedding to the confrontation with Gerald Caldwell. Tess listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from shock to outrage to grudging admiration. "I not say I'm sorry about any of it," she said when he finished. "Brielle was never right for you. The Caldwells treated you like dirt from day one. But I still wish you called me. I would have helped. I know you would have." Oliver reached across the table to squeeze her hand. "But I needed to handle it myself. Well, in case you wondering about the aftermath." Tess leaned forward conspiratorially. "The Caldwell name is not what it used to be. Lainey left town. Rumor has it she's in Charlotte trying to rebuild her life. Brielle is still here. But she's been dropped from the hospital charity board. And Gerald's biggest clients are suddenly reviewing their contracts. I did not want to destroy them," Oliver said. "You did not. You just made them face reality for once." Tess sipped her coffee. "So what are you doing now besides working and hiding in your apartment?" "I'm not hiding." "When was the last time you went out? Did something fun? Saw old friends?" Oliver could not remember. The months since the divorce had been focused on work on rebuilding his life in practical ways. "I've been busy." "Well, unbusy yourself. Jack Dawson is having a grand opening for his outdoor supply store this weekend. You coming with me?" "Tess." "Not negotiable." She stood gathering her purse. "Saturday, 10 a.m. I'll pick you up." "And Oliver?" "It's good to have my brother back." The grand opening of Summit Outfitters was crowded beyond expectations. Jack moved through the throng with ease, pointing out features of climbing gear, explaining the difference between hiking boots, looking every inch the successful business owner despite the tattoos visible beneath his rolled-up sleeves. "Quite the turnout," Oliver commented when Jack finally made his way to where he stood with Tess. "Yeah, who would have guessed Asheville needed another outdoor store?" Jack grinned. "Turns out having the Bishops as your first customers brings in a crowd." "The Bishops?" Tess asked, surprised. Conrad's father brought his entire executive team in last week. Bought equipment for a corporate retreat. Jack nodded toward a wall of photos showing satisfied customers. Conrad Bishop Sr. featured prominently grinning beside a display of high-end backpacks. "Seems Gerald Caldwell took my suggestion." Oliver noted that the Bishops really do know quality when they see it. Jack's smile turned serious. "Listen, I could not have done this without your investment. The bank loan covered the inventory, but the location, the renovations. It was a smart business decision." Oliver cut him off. "This town is full of hikers and climbers with disposable income. You'll make the money back in a year." Tess looked between them. "You invested in Jack's store?" "Silent partner," Oliver confirmed. "Very silent. I handle some of the logistics and supply chain management." Jack handles everything else. Huh. Tess studied her brother with new eyes. Look at you making power moves. The rest of the day passed in a blur of introductions and conversations. Oliver was surprised by how many people sought him out specifically not to gossip about the divorce or the wedding scandal, but to talk about outdoor gear, about logistics, about business opportunities. As the crowd thinned in the late afternoon, Conrad Bishop appeared in the doorway. Not senior, but the younger Conrad Laney's almost husband. He spotted Oliver and made his way through the store. Wilder Conrad extended his hand. Good to see you. Bishop Oliver shook his hand. Did not expect to see you here. Dad would not stop talking about this place. Thought I'd check it out myself. Conrad glanced around. Impressive operation. Jack knows what he's doing. Conrad nodded, then lowered his voice. I never got to properly thank you. For the wedding. For the truth. You do not need to thank me. I do. Conrad's expression was earnest. You saved me from a lifetime of lies. I'm grateful. How are you doing with all of it? Oliver asked. Better than expected. The family took a hit. Socially hard to maintain appearances when you call off a wedding at the reception. But business is strong. Conrad hesitated. I heard about you, embryo. I'm sorry. Do not be. It was long overdue. Conrad studied him for a moment. I'm planning a new venture. Ecotourism. High-end guided experiences in the mountains, with a focus on environmental education. I could use someone who understands logistics, supply chains. Someone trustworthy. Sounds interesting. Oliver admitted. Let me buy you dinner next week. We could discuss it. Conrad handed him a business card. No pressure. Just conversation. Oliver accepted the card. I'll think about it. After Conrad left, Tess appeared at Oliver's elbow. Was that Conrad Bishop asking you to dinner? Business proposition. Oliver explained. Well. Tess smirked. Looks like burning bridges can sometimes light the way to new ones. The dinner with Conrad led to more meetings, which led to a partnership agreement. 6 months after the wedding, that was not. Oliver found himself with a stake in Bishop Eco Adventures, overseeing the operational side of the business while Conrad handled marketing and client relations. That on a crisp spring morning, Oliver stood in the office of their newly rented space downtown, unpacking boxes of brochures. Tess arrived with coffee and pastries as had become her weekly custom business partner to Jack Dawson and Conrad Bishop. She said, handing him a cup. You re-officially Asheville's most interesting divorce. I'm not sure that's a compliment. Oliver replied, but he was smiling. It is for me. She perched on his desk. How's it going with Conrad? Better than expected. He's smart, driven and surprisingly down-to-earth once you get past the trust fund exterior. Oliver sipped his coffee, and he knows everyone worth knowing in 3 states. Not afraid of the Caldwell connection. Awkward family gatherings in your future. Conrad has not spoken to the Caldwells since the wedding. Neither has his father. Oliver shrugged. Water under the bridge. Tess studied him. You seem happy, genuinely happy. I am. And it was true. The anger that had driven him for so long had faded, replaced by a quiet satisfaction in building something new. Something his. His phone buzzed with a text from Jack. Meeting still on for 3. Bringing new climbing instructor to meet you. Oliver texted back confirmation, then explained to Tess, we restarting a youth program. Free climbing lessons for kids who cannot afford the usual fees. Jack's bringing the new instructor over later. Look at my brother, the community pillar. Tess grinned. Mom would be proud. Their mother had died when Tess was in college. Their father a few years later. The mention of her did not bring the usual pang of loss. Just a warm memory. She always did tell me to stand up for myself. Oliver recalled, and it only took you 40 years to listen. Tess polished off her pastry. By the way, I ran into Brielle yesterday at the farmer's market. Oliver tensed slightly. How was that? Civil. She asked about you. Actually, what did you tell her? The truth. They doing well. Building new businesses. Moving on. Tess brushed crumbs from her hands. She seemed, I do not know. Sad. Maybe said she was moving to Charlotte next month. Fresh start. Oliver nodded, unsurprised. It's probably best for everyone. Later that afternoon, as promised, Jack arrived with a young woman in tow, Alex, the new climbing instructor. She was in her late 20s with calloused hands and an easy confidence. As Jack explained the youth program concept, Oliver found himself impressed by her questions, her suggestions. The kids will learn more than just climbing, Alex was saying. They'll learn trust, teamwork, how to assess risk, how to overcome fear. Exactly what we had in mind, Conrad agreed. Having joined them midway through the conversation, as they talked, Oliver felt a sense of purpose he had not experienced in years. This was not about proving anything to anyone. It was not about the Caldwells, or Brielle, or social standing. It was about building something meaningful, something that would last. After the meeting, Jack lingered, waiting until Conrad and Alex had left. I got a call from Lainey Caldwell yesterday. Oliver raised an eyebrow. What did she want? To apologize, believe it or not, for how her family treated me back in the day. Jack shook his head, bemused. Said she's doing therapy in Charlotte, working through some stuff. Sounded sincere. People can change. Oliver acknowledged. Speaking of change, Jack handed him an envelope. First quarter profits from a store. Your share. We doing better than projected. Oliver opened it. Eyebrows rising at the figure on the check. Not bad for 3 months. Not bad at all. Jack grinned. What are you going to do with it? Oliver thought for a moment. I have an idea. The idea became reality over the next month. A cabin, smaller than Jack's, but similar in style, on a piece of land not far from his friend's property. 3 acres with a view of the mountains, a stream running along one edge. When it was finished, Oliver invited Tess and Jack to see it first. They stood on the wraparound porch, drinking beer and watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of gold and purple. It's perfect, Tess declared. Absolutely perfect. Not bad for a logistics guy. Jack agreed. Oliver smiled, feeling contentment settled deep in his bones. I could not have done it without both of you. Jack, your cabin gave me shelter when I needed it most. And Tess, you never gave up on me, even when I pushed everyone away. That's what family does. Tess said simply, the real kind, not the Caldwell version, to real family. Jack raised his bottle in a toast to real family. Oliver and Tess echoed. Summer came to the mountains in a rush of green and warmth. Oliver's businesses thrived. Summit Outfitters had expanded to a second location, and Bishop Eco Adventures was booked solid through October. The youth climbing program had 30 regular participants. Kids from across Asheville learning skills and confidence on the rock faces of the Blue Ridge. That on a Wednesday afternoon, Oliver was reviewing inventory reports in his office when his assistant announced an unexpected visitor, Conrad Bishop Sr. Sent him in. Oliver said, curious. He'd met the elder bishop several times at business functions, but they were not close. Conrad Sr. entered with the confidence of a man accustomed to being the most important person in any room. But there was something different about him today. A slight hesitation, perhaps. Wilder, he offered his hand. Sorry to drop in unannounced. Not a problem. Oliver shook his hand, gesturing to a chair. What can I do for you? It's more what I can do for you. Bishop Sr. leaned forward. I'm hosting a fundraiser next month. Conservation efforts in the Blue Ridge. Key people from across the region will be there. I'd like you to attend. Oliver was surprised. I'd be happy to, but why me specifically? Bishop Sr. studied him for a moment. Because you have integrity. Something in short supply these days. I appreciate that, but let me be direct, Wilder. That business with the Caldwells last year, exposing the truth about Lainey, it saved my son from a lifetime of unhappiness. A dishonest marriage, Bishop's expression hardened briefly. I value loyalty, honesty, and courage. You showed all three. I did what I thought was right, Oliver said simply. Exactly. Bishop nodded. And that's why I want you at this fundraiser. Not just as a guest, but as a partner. Your ecotourism venture with Conrad is exactly the kind of business we should be highlighting. Responsible stewardship of the mountains combined with economic opportunity. Oliver was caught off guard. I'm flattered. Do not be. It's business. Bishop stood, but good business. The kind built on trust and mutual respect. He handed Oliver an embossed invitation. Next month, black tie. Bring a guest if you like. After Bishop left, Oliver sat holding the invitation, turning it over in his hands. From excluded from a wedding to specially invited to one of Asheville's most prestigious events. The irony was not lost on him. His phone buzzed with a text from Brielle. I hear you going to the Bishop Conservation fundraiser. I hope that does not mean you'll be uncomfortable if I'm there too. Mother is on the committee. Oliver stared at the message. The first direct contact from Brielle in months. He started to type several responses, deleted them all, and finally wrote, It's a big venue. I'm sure we can be civil. Her reply came quickly. I'd like to talk if you willing. Before the event, coffee sometime. Oliver set the phone down without answering. He was not ready for that conversation yet. Was not sure he ever would be. Later that evening, as he sat on his cabin porch with a glass of bourbon, his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. Oliver Wilder, he answered. Oliver, it's Conrad. Conrad Bishop. The younger Bishop sounded excited. Did my father talk to you today? He did. About the fundraiser. Did he mention the other thing? The partnership opportunity. Oliver frowned. No, just a fundraiser. Typical dad. Making me do the real work. Conrad laughed. He's retiring next year. Restructuring the family businesses. He wants to bring you in as a partner in the outdoor recreation division. Not just the ecotourism venture, but 3 other businesses under the Bishop umbrella. Oliver nearly dropped his glass. What? Why me? Because you know operations better than anyone. Because you've proven yourself with our current venture. And because in his words, he's not afraid to tell the truth, even when it costs him. Conrad paused. Also, I might have suggested it. I do not know what to say. Say yes. Come to the fundraiser. Talk to Dad formally about it. This is big, Oliver. Really big. After they hung up, Oliver sat in the growing darkness, watching fireflies rise from the tall grass around his cabin. The Bishop family offer represented everything the Caldwells had always held over him: wealth, influence, social standing. And yet it felt different. It was not about marrying into success or pretending to be something he was not. It was recognition of his actual value, his skills, his character. His phone buzzed with another text from Brielle. I understand if you do not want to talk. Just know that I'm sorry for how things ended. For everything, Oliver started to respond, then stopped, deleted the draft and blocked her number. Some chapters needed to stay closed. The morning of the Bishop Conservation fundraiser dawned clear and cool. Oliver stood on his cabin porch, coffee in hand, watching the sun rise over the mountains. A year had passed since Lainey's wedding, since the confrontation that had changed everything. The anger that had driven him then was gone, replaced by a quiet confidence, a certainty in his own path. Tess arrived to pick him up in the afternoon, Jack following in his truck. They both insisted on being his guests for the evening. Look at you. Tess said, surveying Oliver in his tuxedo, executive material through and through. It's just clothes, Oliver said, but he could not help smiling. The fundraiser was held at the Biltmore estate in the same gardens where Lainey's South wedding had taken place. The irony was not lost on any of them as they passed through the entrance that had once barred Oliver. Inside, the event was a sea of Asheville's elite, business leaders, politicians, old money families. Conrad greeted them immediately, introducing Oliver to people he'd never have met in his previous life. The man himself, Conrad Sr., boomed, appearing with 2 glasses of champagne. He handed one to Oliver. "Glad you could make it. Would not miss it." Oliver replied, "Your son's been talking up this partnership opportunity." Conrad never could keep a secret. The elder bishop glanced around. "Let's discuss it properly later this week." Too many years here. As the evening progressed, Oliver found himself the center of more attention than he expected. People who had once looked through him at Caldwell family functions now sought him out, eager to discuss business opportunities, community initiatives, or simply to be seen talking to the man Conrad Bishop Sr. had publicly praised during his opening remarks. He was talking with the mayor when he spotted Gerald Caldwell across the room. Their eyes met briefly. Gerald gave a stiff nod, which Oliver returned before they both turned back to their respective conversations. Later, as he stood alone for a moment on a terrace overlooking the gardens, Oliver heard a familiar voice. Quite the comeback story. He turned to find Conrad Bishop the Younger watching him with an amused expression. "What do you mean?" Oliver asked. "A year ago, you were not even allowed to attend a wedding here. Now you re the guest everyone wants to talk to." Conrad joined him at the balustrada. "My father's planning to announce your partnership publicly at the end of the evening. I have not even seen the terms yet." Oliver protested. "Details." Conrad waved dismissively. "The point is, you earned this. Not through connections or family names, but through actual merit. That's rare in Asheville." "Thank you for saying that." Oliver meant it. "I should be thanking you." Conrad's expression sobered. "You saved me, you know, from a marriage built on lies. You deserved better." "We both did." Conrad raised his glass to better choices. After Conrad left, Oliver remained on the terrace, letting the cool evening air clear his head. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a text from Jack. "Check your email." Now, Oliver pulled out his phone, opened his email to find a message from Jack with a photo attached. It was a deed titled in Oliver's name. For Jack's old cabin, but a second message followed. "Tess and I went in together. Happy early birthday. You gave me the chance to start my business. This is how we wanted to say thanks." Oliver looked up to see Jack and Tess standing in the doorway to the terrace, both grinning like kids with a surprise. "You did not," Oliver said, emotion tightening his throat. "We did," Tess confirmed. "Jack's moving into town to be closer to the stores and you need a guest house for when I visit." "I do not know what to say." "You do not have to say anything," Jack replied, "just enjoy it. You earned it." As they returned to the party, Oliver thought about the journey of the past year from excluded and disrespected to valued and respected, from a marriage that diminished him to friendships and family ties that strengthened him. The night wound down, speeches were made, conservation pledges announced. Conrad Sr. publicly introduced Oliver as their newest partner to applause that would have been unimaginable a year earlier. As they were leaving, Oliver's phone buzzed one last time. An unfamiliar number, but the message made the sender clear. "I see you moved up in the world. I'm happy for you." Oliver deleted it without responding, turned off his phone and joined Tess and Jack at the exit, ready to head home. Tess asked, "More than ready?" Oliver agreed. They drove back to the mountains in comfortable silence. When they reached Oliver's cabin, his real home, the place he built for himself, they stood for a moment on the porch, taking in the view. The mountains, solid and ancient. The stars brilliant in the clear night sky, the lights of Asheville twinkling in the valley below. "Some families you reborn into," Oliver said quietly, "others you built from the ground up." Jack clapped him on the shoulder, Tess leaned her head against his arm. And for the first time and longer than he could remember, Oliver Wilder felt completely unconditionally at home.